Okay, going to move swiftly on. If I could touch, I should say, on conditioning for player development. That's our next thing that we're sort of going to touch on at the minute. So if I could ask Ryan Porter to come up to the front, please, because he's going to have a short presentation, and then we'll have a very short discussion panel after that. So round of applause, please, for Ryan.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Ryan Porter. I've worked with Monaghan seniors for the past 6 years. Before that, I spent almost 10 years with Dromore, and during that period I spent 3 years with Donegal. So I've been quite fortunate that I've been working at a very high level. A lot of you might recognise me from running in and out of the sideline a lot. Some of you might have given me a bit of advice over the years, especially some of maybe the Siobhán boys down here. So thank you for that. So just today, I sort of want to set the scene for a panel discussion, and we've a really good panel here, so I don't want to talk too long, but I just want to set the scene in terms of conditioning for player development, and in terms of the physical development of our players, from young right the way through. And I'm very conscious as well, there's people here that are working maybe under 8s, under 10s, senior club, junior club, so you're all coming from different backgrounds, and when you go away from here, you're working at a totally different level. So I'm trying to relate it to everyone in terms of physical development and what you can take away from here, and what you can implement to make your players better, to make your team better, to make your club better. So we're just going to take a wee look at the current levels of physical preparation and the structures that are in place. We're going to take a wee look at how we can improve, if there's any ways we can improve, and we're going to discuss that among the panel. So the main thing is the changes in athlete preparation, and I suppose from maybe 15 years ago when I first started, being honest, when I started with Dromore, we were one of the first club teams that started doing some form of weight training. And even then we went, I think it was in Fenton at Ecclesville Centre, and all they had was 3 or 4 resistance machines. But we got on them anyway. We started doing that, and we started doing some running, speed drills and bits and pieces like that. Have to confess we were using ladders at that stage, which are nearly totally outlawed now. But there's been a huge change in terms of the physical preparation, and as the boys alluded there, the amount of time and effort that's put into that there now. Advances in sort of the knowledge of training and the methodology in terms of applying that knowledge. Seen a huge change. It's moved from nearly just lifting weights and getting the upper body nice and big into more now looking at movement efficiency and how we can move better and how we can move into positions better, and all around, centred around making our players faster. So that total speed element of conditioning seems to be where it's went from now. We've also seen a huge change in terms of the support systems. So nutrition, lifestyle and recovery have become a huge element of the overall process. Maybe 10, 15 years ago, I was training twice a week and there was nothing else. Now it's your recovery, your strength work, your nutrition, your lifestyle, all those key elements, and that's why at this stage now athletes are as well prepared as they've ever been in GA, and they're as well conditioned. So I suppose strength and conditioning has obviously been around a long time, but it's a massive buzzword in the GA. It's the cure to all your problems apparently. If your under 12 team loses, you need a strength and conditioning coach. If your senior team loses, it's the strength and conditioning's fault. They weren't fit enough. So strength and conditioning is a massive element, but I must stress, and somebody that advocates strength and conditioning and coaches it, it's not the be all and end all. It's a very important role to play, but unless you have the technical skills, the tactical skills, the psychological skills, and all the other support systems in place, you're not going to progress. But I would say to some of the people that doubt the benefits of strength and conditioning, 3 main areas: the way of strength and conditioning, and the whole area of athlete preparation is performance benefits. Without a doubt, a well-structured training program can get our players faster, fitter, stronger, able to absorb loads, able to absorb that high level of training, and then they're able to perform at a much better level, and they're meeting the demands of the game. Injury reduction, as we said, that ability to absorb those high training loads and the demands of the game getting higher and higher. There's no doubt a proper structured strength program can help in terms of injury prevention. And also, one of the big benefits, and particularly if you're working with underage, and that's the level you're going to be at for a long time, is health and well-being benefits. Strength and conditioning is physical training, so in terms of the cardiovascular benefits for young children, it's massive. It's a lifelong skill they're going to have, and in terms of their strength as well, in and around their bone structure, so important. And if you can lay that platform for a kid, forget about elite level, performing at the highest, but if we can give them cardiovascular strength development and we can give them the skills to develop those over the years, you've done a really good job. So, what does an inter-county player look like? And how are we doing? A couple of things we're going to address here. So, inter-county players, I'd say they've probably never been as fit as they are at the moment. Players now typically will cover between 6.5 to 11k a game. Large volume of work. Of that 11k, and I'm talking 11k is at the very top end of it. I know Dermot O'Connor apparently covered 16k. I don't believe it, but possibly. What we see is 6.5 to 11k per game. Of that, 2k, up to 2k of that could be high speed running, and that's typically around 17 kilometres an hour above that their speed. So there's a high volume, a lot of that is at a high speed, and also the fellas now at county level have to produce maybe anything from 80 to 160 sprints per game. So there's a lot of accelerations, there's a lot of decelerating in the game. So there's a lot of twisting, turning, going and stopping. Alright, so if you think of a car, you're in your car and you're driving, you have to set off as fast as you can, you're stopping, fast as you can, you're stopping. There's a huge physical demand in that. So our players are under huge stress in terms of that. So the preparation is very important. The guys are very lean. You can see now typically an inter-county player body fat levels, they're from maybe 10-15 years ago, they're carrying very little weight, so typically between sort of 7.5 to 12% body fat, very, very lean. And in terms of speed, they're very quick. And speed now is sort of king in terms of the game and the way it's went. Just some of the guys this year, just for information, maybe if anyone's interested in that, I think apparently Anthony Martial for Man United would have been clocking a recent Premiership game a top speed of 34, 35 kilometres an hour. We would have a number of Monaghan players this year in some of the Championship games would have been clocking around that similar 35.1, 35.2. And I know Rory Began's here today. It wasn't Rory. Although I think he got up to about 30 maybe in that All-Ireland final with that late charge. So I would say the message is that the guys are at a really high level. I wouldn't say they're elite, but they're very, very close to it. Alright, they're very, very close to it. So how are we doing as coaches in terms of how are we prepared? And we want to focus on the physical element of it, obviously. So how are we as coaches doing in terms of preparing? Well, we must be doing well. You know, let's be honest, the players now, if you watch them, and they're on Sky, and they're very comparable to AFL, they're very comparable to Premiership in terms of the physical output. So we're doing well, but we're not all there. Alright, so from my experience, say I'm very fortunate, we're getting the players when they come to us at senior level, so they're trials or we're bringing players in, they come to us. So a lot of time we're getting the finished product and we're just putting the icing on the cake. We're getting to do the nice bits at the very end, the wee sprinkles that'll just take them up that wee bit more. But what we have seen is, if fellas are coming through academies with really good development structures, so for instance Tyrone's development structures, Calvin's development structures, Monaghan's development structures, where they're getting expertise and they're getting proper strength and conditioning from that young age. Well, when they come to us, they look really good. They move really good. They have real good movement skills. Their ability to move in and out of positions is really strong. Their conditioning levels, their tolerance to conditioning levels is at a really high end. They also have an understanding of their training, what they're trying to do with their training. They understand the effects of the training and how they have to recover from all those things as well. So there's no doubt, if you're going through any of the academy systems and possibly the colleges as well, that the players are coming to us really, really great shape, where we can move them on to the next level. All right, we can then use some more advanced training techniques, medium, high intensity, plyometrics, contrast training, all the more advanced forms of training when they come to us. So there's no doubt that a lot of the players coming to us and the systems that are in place at the minute are producing a really high level when they come to us. But I have to say, there is a number of players, children don't get that opportunity. So we can see a massive difference. I have seen a massive difference between a player who has not been in that development system, not been exposed to that high level of coaching, because that's what it's all about, that high level of quality coaching from maybe 13 to 18, and then he comes into a county setup and he's never been in the weight room before. He's never been exposed to any sort of technical advice on his running. He's never been exposed to the whole lifestyle nutrition, and is at a major disadvantage. And I think that's a challenge for us as coaches. And it's difficult because you're with a club, under 16 team, your expertise is possibly in football and coaching, but you understand the games, the demands are getting higher, and it's all about that physical, it's all about strength and conditioning as well, and you don't have that background and you don't have that knowledge. And if you can't put that on to your group, your females, your males, then they're the disadvantage. And I think for us as coaches, it's important for us, every single child, to try and maximise their physical potential, because they will develop at different stages. So I think there's a gap at the moment. If they're in a structured system, the academies, college, they get that exposure, and when they come into county level, they're ready to go. But with no doubt, in my experience in the last 6 years, we are getting fellas in that it maybe takes 2 years. It maybe takes 2 years to train them up, that we're able to load up on them fully. And that shouldn't probably be the case. But that's the challenge as coaches we face, to get that knowledge, to bring that expertise in. You need to get the quality coaches in. We need to start to look and see if we can get, within your own club, if you can get professional people that have maybe been down that physical strength and conditioning route, that have maybe had a degree in science, get them in, try and get them to set up structures within your club and educate your players and try and close that gap. Because if they do come to us and it takes 2 or 3 years, it might be too late. So the key message is maximising the physical potential of all the children that you have, and whether they make county level or not is sort of irrelevant, okay? So how can we get better? So again, go back to coaches, under 10, under 12, under 8s. And I'm involved with under 8s myself this year, and it's a very humbling experience, and it's very worthwhile if you're working at a high level to go back to that, because you see how difficult it is to put in those early ingredients. So do your bit. It's like building a house. So if the first guy that comes in, who's ever built a house, when the brickie comes in, if he does a really good job, then see the joiner coming in afterwards, it's a lot handier for the joiner. And just at the end of that process, usually the brickie and the joiner will talk and they'll communicate and they'll tweak things a wee bit, and it just means it's seamless. And it's the same for you as a coach. If you stay at under 12 or you stay at under 10 the rest of your coaching career, if you can focus on that element of physical development, so whether it's just in terms of their children's motor control or their movement skills, getting them to run, change direction, accelerate, decelerate, whether you're under 16 level, under 14, and it's maybe implementing some body weight exercises, if you can really hone in on that area, concentrate on that area and do it really well, then you're handing it over to the next person in a lot better shape. And it's more seamless, and at the end of the day, like building a house, you get a far better product at the end. What we got to do is consider each individual is different as well. So important. Their age, their training age, their response to training as well is going to be slightly different. So, and their motives for being there and training as well. So you've got to take all them things the fellas chatted about earlier, treat everyone as an individual. As a child, so important as well. Do not treat them as mini adults. They're totally different, okay? So, successful athletic development, it's a slow roast. So you know their Christmas dinner, and your mum or your dad, they might have the roast on the night before, and then on Christmas Day they might have it on from the morning. And you think, well, when's dinner ready? It's another hour, it's another hour. So it's that idea of a slow roast. It can't happen really quickly. And same when you're training. See, sometimes as coaches, in terms of physical development, let's get them training harder, let's get them running, let's get them lifting heavy weights. If you do that, turn up the heat a wee bit on them, you'll ruin the roast, you'll ruin the Christmas turkey. So if you think of that in terms of the physical athletic development, what we'd say is just those small building blocks, alright? It'll take time, it takes time, and it'll take that just wee bit of patience as well. And some of the key things that I would try to adhere to in terms of a training approach and in terms of working with the young is the consistency, and it goes back to that slow roast, just that consistency. Don't try and do too much. So if you get a team out, we want to get them fit, and you're throwing it in at them, it's definitely not the right approach. So it's nice and slow, build their skills, build their competencies, and then develop it on from there. The KISS principle, so keep it simple. I would imagine if you take a look at the training regimes of Dublin, New Zealand rugby, it's really simple stuff done savagely well. So don't be, if you're social media, you'll see all these gimmicks and fancy tricks, and don't be thinking, I need to be doing that with my team. Absolutely not. Concentrate on the basic stuff done really well, and you'll get massive benefits. And that's one thing we would, even at senior level, it's doing the basics and doing them really well. Variety, appropriate possessions, explains itself. Training loading strategies, recovery is key. Alright, recovery is key. So every training session you do will have a consequence on the next training session. So you have to make sure you're building in that recovery, particularly for young athletes. And it's something that, let's be honest, doesn't happen. It doesn't happen enough. Alright, so get to know your athletes. So it's connecting with them. Just a quote I've seen recently, and I thought it was really good. If I create a system that keeps them engaged, I can create a system that builds great athletes. Okay, so I'm thinking if you're working at underage level, fun is so important. Fun is so important. Do not underestimate it. So the amount of dropout in underage, female and male, it's sort of under 12, under 14. Well, why is it happening? The kids originally signed up there for it to be fun, for enjoyment. Once the fun and enjoyment goes out of it, that's when you get the drop-off. That is the number one reason for drop-off. So it's that idea of engaging, connecting with the children, making it fun. If you do that, you have a far better chance of keeping them there. If you can keep them there, you can train them. You'll see the benefits of that training over time. But if you lose them, that process is dead in the water. So another piece of it, just keeping it fun. So whether that's fun games at the start, fun games at the end, if you can keep it fun, I can guarantee you'll keep them more involved. Make them, and maybe it applies more to sort of under 16, that 15, 16, is understand the why. So when you're training, and as coaches, you've got to understand the why. So it's not, well, we'll run the shed out in the night, or look, I've seen the throwing boys doing that, so we'll do that tonight. You've got to understand why you're doing, why are you doing that? And then you've got to impart that knowledge onto your children on your team in terms of why we're doing that today, and that'll promote that long-term understanding. Listen to their thinking, so talking to them, what do they want, what do they like, where's their thoughts at, and it'll help you make that connection with them. And again, making decisions with sound evidence and data. So the long running is long gone. The gym sessions focused on just upper body are long gone. All those things, because we have now more science and we're applying those scientific principles. So just when you are thinking you're training, getting people involved, there's got to be sound evidence to back up what you're doing. Alright, and one of the key challenges, and Eugene might have alerted at the start, is club, county and school working together. When we have, I think still at that age, from sort of 15 to 20, and I say I don't directly work with it, but what I'm seeing from the outside is we talk a lot, we talk a lot about working together, communicating together, but it's not happening, because we still have fellas coming to us maybe 20 years of age, and they're overtrained, and they have massive hip and groin injuries, and overuse injuries. So we've got to get better. If we work together, I think we'll have a better result. Again, some of the fellas do it. Less is more. I can honestly say it's one of the things Malachy talked about it. Less is more. So if you think your children are tired, the fella's tired, he might have too much, he might have school football, take them out. Take them out. My experience over the years is you'll get far more from it, from a physical point of view and from the player mentally as well. Take them out. So I think less is definitely more. And just the last thing before we bring the panel up is just, if you want good athletic development, become a better coach. Become a better coach. Quality coaching has made the difference. I have no doubt that the advances in the game is down to better coaches over the last 10 or 15 years. Better knowledge, better application of that knowledge. So become a better coach. Whether you're under 8, under 10, learn a wee bit more about movement skills, learn a wee bit more about body weight, learn a wee bit more about their first steps in the gym, about mobility training, learn a wee bit more, and you can become a better coach. Okay?
Okay, right, fantastic, absolutely brilliant. Listen, before we bring up our panel, I just want to ask you just one question before we let you go. Just looking even at this last night, sort of coaching different things, sort of, well, I wouldn't call it research, but more of a Google search more than anything else. But you have one thing saying one thing and one thing saying another. Even you said at the very beginning there, you were almost ashamed to say that you had ladders at the start. I mean, I'm thinking, like, well, I didn't know there was anything wrong with ladders. I suppose you hear of players doing weights at such an early age, and people are sort of taking that normal club scene, people coming up with the teenage years. If there's a Bible, or if there's the clear difference between right and wrong, because when you speak to different strength and conditioning coaches, they're saying this is the way we do it now. Yet as coaches, we don't know, have that authority, that knowledge, so we kind of have to believe them in a sense. How can you sort of bring that power back to the coaches so that they, in as much as they can, know this is the way we're doing it, and here's why, and I'm pretty much certain of that?
I suppose for coaches, that is the difficulty in terms of there's a pressure now to get that advanced level of training right from a young age. the science and the data is there, and I suppose the thing about strength training for children has been around for a long time, and people say don't start them there, start them, somebody say get them doing it as early as possible. The thing, strength training is good for all children, but you have to realise that children progress, or every child is different. So a child might be ready for a certain level of training at the age of 12 or 13, whereas another child it might be 14. So you have to understand. So there's no saying, well, once they get to 12 or once they get to 13 they can do that. So you have to take every child as an individual and the training age that they're at. But without a doubt that do not be scared of strength training for children, because they're doing it anyway in their classroom, in their bedroom. They're rolling over, they're on handstands and all that stuff. So that's a form of strength training. So don't be afraid, I say, in terms of strength training. And there's a lot of science probably, and there's a lot of stuff out there as well. So it's very hard sometimes to pick what is actually right. But if there's good empirical evidence there and proper studies being done, that's the evidence to listen to. It's not somebody on Twitter possibly or somebody on Instagram posting up a key message. It's sound evidence with a lot of data and backing.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, Ryan, thank you very much indeed. That's absolutely fabulous, super stuff. Okay, if I could ask the panel to come up, we're going to tease this out a little bit better now. So if we could ask, we have Owen McNichol, who's just recently completed a marathon, I think. Owen, good man. How's the knees? Still there. Okay, great. Great. Come on up. And Mattie McGleenan to come up as well. Sarah Connolly and Siobhán McKaigue. So a round of applause for all four, please. Okay, Owen, you have the mic, so I'll come to you first. Listen, you're coaching the Northern Ireland netball team, and you're taking the Dunloy, is it the football team? Hurling team? This might sound like a very basic question, maybe a silly question, but you're taking boys and you're taking girls. Is there a difference in terms of being a coach?
This is probably one of the things that I was faced with when I first came on the senior Northern Ireland netball team, and a good friend of mine, Mike McGleenan, whenever the contact with him, he actually approached me for the role, and I was quizzing his brain to find out, is there much of a difference in the two? And he was like, there really isn't. Small differences to do with some of the injuries, especially the girls. There's especially hips as well. There's maybe slightly wider hips, which could potentially lead injuries to cruciates and knees. And I suppose you have to look at the sport itself and the needs analysis of the players. Court sports like netball, there's not much given the ground, so you have to really look at the playing surfaces and the history of the players and the injuries involved. So, in fairness, there's not really a lot that you would change in terms of training. It's more so the needs analysis of the players and I suppose the environment they're playing in.
Okay, Siobhán, if I can come to you, we're talking Slot Neil, Camogie. I mean, it's just a phenomenal level of success. So people will look at you as the benchmark. When it comes to that sort of strength and conditioning, that coaching, that development as a player, are you just all taken as a group? Is there a recognition there that Ryan was sort of suggesting a little bit earlier that everybody's maybe just a little bit different?
Yeah, I suppose even reflecting back from whenever I first came onto the senior Camogie team, 16, 17 years of age, there was no such thing as strength and conditioning, and it was very much so go out and run as many reps as you can around the pitch and play a full game, and that was it. Maybe 1 or 2 nights a week only, and now it's really come in as a core element in your training. So reflecting back on our 2016 All-Ireland campaign, we had the strength and conditioning in place from then, and I think whenever we won that first Ulster title, going down to play our All-Ireland semi, a lot of people didn't give us a chance because we were an Ulster team going down to play very strong Southern Camogie side. It was versus Sahara that year, and we really came out of the blocks and had that edge, and I think it was because we had the physicality element in our game, and we were really strong. And since then, we've got this year Ollie Cummins in with us, who's a well-known strength and conditioning coach in the North, and very professional setup, and we are tailored into groups, and We have set programmes, reflecting on where we're at in that year. So, for example, coming into Championship, we'd be looking at a different programme to get us at a peak level. And it very much just focus on acceleration, deceleration, and explosive work, and that would reflect then on our GPS stats, and you can see our power plays and what kilometres we're covering in matches, and it all very links in very well. And it's a very professional setup overall.
Okay, Sarah, we can come to you from a Tyrone perspective. It's been full on this year. How much responsibility is on your plate, so to speak, as opposed to maybe the management, the coaching setup? Where does that balance lie?
Well, in Tyrone we're very fortunate that we've got a great system and system of coaches involved. So on the line there might be up to 5 or 6 management players or management coaches. So we all have an important role at different stages of the training session or the game. We all have more important decisions to be making. Largely throughout the week, I would have my stages that I would be within in the gym with the ladies, and I would have my core time with the girls, and then it would transition over onto the pitch where there's a more focus on a conditioning element, and then they're passed over to the skills coach for his input. So we're lucky that we have people or masters of different skills within our coaching environment. So my role is very important, but we also have a lot of background team who have equally important roles, and within our Tyrone system we complement each other, that we're all of high enough standards, but we know our strengths, we know our weaknesses, so we can pass different areas or aspects of the game onto somebody with a wee bit more knowledge. So we're lucky just to have a good coaching background team. Okay.
Mattie, if I come to you, you're uniquely positioned in this, in the sense that you've taken clubs, you've taken Scottstown, inter-county manager with Cavan, but also your day-to-day job with the schools. You're seeing players at all different kinds of development, and when they hear things like strength and conditioning and like player development and conditioning, it's almost like a scary phrase, or phrase, a big part. It can include a whole lot of things. I mean, just generally from your experience, what works best?
I wouldn't say it works best. I sort of base everything around 4 models. Ryan touched on it there, Malachy touched on it. You have 4 parts to the development of any child. And the first part of it, and Ryan touched on it brilliantly there, was, and you lose sight of that there, skill is the most important part of everything that we do. And that must be your building block, where you have under 12s, as Ryan touched on and Malachy touched on at senior level. Listen, we're dicing on the cake part of it. But that's the most important part, fundamentally. That's your starting your building block, or building your house, as Ryan touched on too. The second part is your athleticism. The girls have touched on it there in terms of strength conditioning, GPS, and your SAQ, your speed, agility, quickness, is the next building block. But the ultimate aim that you have is the final 2 parts of the block that you're trying to get the children through. And that's speed of play and speed of thought. Decision making ultimately wins most. It doesn't win most, it wins all football matches. To make the right decision in a pressure situation, and that's what we're trying to do as coaching, be it with Irish under 16s or with Cavan seniors. We went back this year to Cavan, this year we played Tyrone. The last 5 minutes, our conditioning was outstanding, our skill level outstanding, and we lost the game on speed of thought. 2 critical decisions in the red heat of battle cost us the football match. And that's coaching at any level, be it under 12, under 14. I suppose I'm looking at it totally from a coaching point of view as to, I love football, I love having the ball in my hands, I love having the children playing the ball, and that wins football matches. That you coach and teach children in terms of conditioned games, in terms of first touch, in terms of 3 seconds on the ball, and how they play the game. And that's what coaching is all about, and that's the huge part of your responsibility out there. And I hope that's why you're here today. If you can teach children speed of thought and speed of play, then you have a brilliant child that when we get to Ryan, if they're lucky enough and blessed enough to have all the attributes that's what they're looking for, because that's the final piece. And all the top teams have that there in terms of even 3 systems of play. Rory Began a few years ago, he did it there last Sunday in Murray. He done it for me 4 or 5 years ago. We played 12 down in the championship. They come up to hit a sideline free, 5 minutes to go. decision making, he chipped it short to the corner forward, he knocked it over the bar, game over. Last Sunday, I think he's probably the first inter-county goalkeeper to score from play in an inter-club match. And that's speed of thought. And speed of play, and the two players knew exactly what they were doing and they did it. And that's coaching. And it's fun. It really is brilliant to see players taking responsibility out on the football field and doing something like that there. And that's what we're all in the game for. And that's what the crack is going forward.
Skill still tops it, because if we're led to believe everything we read and we hear and everything else, people will say, oh, you know, the skill's gone out of it, the long kick pass you never see, tactics are over the top, it's driving these skillful players out of the game. You disagree with that?
I wouldn't disagree with it. It's you imparting your personality on the players in terms of how you want them to play. What is feedback? You played well. Like, that's some feedback you take, isn't it? How do you give feedback to enhance children, to make them be better and go 1% better? I have a great belief, and they had talked about it too. Half time, you have 3 stars to wish. I think after that there's chaos. Okay? People walk in and there's 10 men talking in the change rooms, and it can head into a shouting session at some point. You have 3 things that you can impart at half time. This is what we did well in the first half. These are 3 things we need to do better in the second half to help us to help you play better. I never talk about winning. Never mentioned winning before any football match in my life. I talk about performance. I wouldn't say I met a boy, because that's what I call it when I'm reading. I meet, they're now my friends. I talked to a boy, Bill Walsh. He has a book that's called The Score Takes Care of Itself. He was the San Francisco 49ers head coach for X number of years. And he talked about, you take care of the process of winning, and winning will take care, the scoreboard will take care of itself. That you set targets in games for players. Like, how many people turn around to a player and say, right, after a game's over, these are 3 things you did well that really enhanced your performance today. And here's one thing I want you to take to training on Tuesday night that's going to help us get 1% better. And that's coaching, and that's your role. For years people told me, oh, you played well today. Well, what to do well? Hey, that's a serious question. Because suddenly you're looking at it and thinking, oh, you did play well. And that's great. There's no feedback in that there. Children thrive, I'm a teacher. Children thrive on feedback. What does an A look like in an exam? It looks like 86%. I brought a childish thing into Scottstown 6 years ago, where I performance rated over 6 or 7 key points what helped us to be successful. And it worked out pretty cool, you know. But we never talked about, we must score X, Y, and Z. We just set ourselves targets. This is what we want to aim for. And you chase that there. And it's coaching is playing in the now. It's not about the mistake that you made previously or what's going to happen in 10 minutes' time. It's what you're doing right now in the game. And that's the most important thing. And that's the type of information you want to be given to your children. Real-time information that they can take on board. Sure, it's brilliant, and we all get lost in the chaos of a game. There's a roaring and shouting. Lee had a great picture of the manager and him at the start. A screaming session going on. What are you imparting on a child if you're roaring and shouting at him in the football field? Can you get him aside for 2 seconds and say, do this? There's one thing to do better. And that's what coaching's all about. And it's getting players to buy into that thought process, that it's not about winning and losing. If you perform to the best of your ability, if you go into an exam and you're ready to, you've done all your training, you've done all your studying for it, most children will write down, well, I'm going to get an A today. There's always the opportunity. They might throw in some crazy questions. It happens on a football field. But in reality, an A is an A. An A is 86%. And I know when I had been on Scottstown, and I did it with Calvin through a different avenue of assessment, but what we did was, the target is an A. I'm a teacher. An A is 86%. And there's 7, if you can create 7 or 8 parameters that says there, right, out of 10 for each one, there gives you 86%. If you do that there, if you lose, we lost to Scottstown in the Ulster club final. I don't know why Rory's here. Can I tell Rory? No, don't know. we had a parameter of 86% was an A. We played Scotstown that year. When I sat down after the game and I evaluated the feedback of the game, I figured us with 86%. The game went down to a kick in the ball. That's pretty cool in my book, because the boys played the shirt of their backs. And any given Sunday that your lads play well, with the benefit of all these people, it's not just me, it's the benefit of the people that are behind the team working and doing that there, then you can walk away and say, yeah, we didn't win, but by Jesus, it was not some performance from our children. And as a parent, can you go home to your child and say, Jesus, we didn't win the game, lad, but you were absolutely brilliant. And you give everything that you could for the jersey. And is that not what we're trying to do, coaches? Is that not what we're trying to do? Because what's happening in the game of football now is it's now maybe a win at all costs mentality. And it's go out and take that player out, and then we take out those 3 or 4 key players, then hey, we'll sort out the game. That's not the way I coach. I have a great belief, if we make you a better player, then you're going to win a hell of a lot of football matches. And that's the challenge that we have, I think, in the game at the minute. That's probably nowhere near what you were looking to talk about.
No, here, listen. Give me some way to change your Mattie, see what, to be fair. Fair play to you, Chief.
The smallest seat, boy.
That's it, yeah. Biggest hand with the smallest seat. Okay, brilliant, fabulous, remarkable insight. We're going to open that up to the floor straight away, folks. So listen, if you have a question, wide range in there. It's some people might say it's a minefield, but there's a man there with the hand up. Go for it.
How do you challenge the expert or the player that says he doesn't know?
Okay.
There's plenty of them when you've come across them.
Anybody specifically you want to put that to? You work with Ryan? You used to, okay, so we skip Ryan's thoughts on it. Okay, Owen, somebody who thinks they know better than you.
It's a tough one. You're going to get them, I suppose, no matter what team or environment that you're in. I'm a fella who loves stats. I love the black and white, and I'll always produce fitness tests and say, look, here's where you're at, here's where you need to be, how we're going to get there. Sit down with, that's bridging the gap between the science and the art of coaching. It's all very good having your black and white and your science, but it's getting the players to buy in a certain way, get them to understand why you're doing it. I know there's prima donnas in nearly every team, but it's trying to get it to their level. You want to take them to the next level. You want to be more player-centered, player-approached. Myself as an ex-player, just recently retired, so I kind of have an idea of what players want, what they expect, and I know how they want to be able to achieve, get to the group park and get to the best. So it's getting the players to buy in, and I suppose finding out, because every player is different. Every player has different needs and different wants and motivates in different ways. So it's pulling the trigger just for different and guns for different players. Maybe a shotgun for one player, maybe a pistol for another, but you're going to have to decide, I suppose, what angle you're going to approach for different players. Is it going to be stats, or is it going to be more putting an arm around the player and say, look, you can do better here, or you're doing really well. So that's a hard one to touch on, but I do like stats. I like the fitness tests. I like the numbers, and I can say, look, here's where you're at. Can we get you up to the next level? So. Okay,
Sarah, this is obviously something. It's not just unique to men, even though we kind of have that maybe perception. We think of the prima donna, we think of a fella. Presumably this happens in the women's changing room as well.
Yes, there's a lot of hormones. Yes, the female dressing room can be a lot more hormonal than the males, but at the same time, whenever there is good systems and structures in place, the girls build a rapport with you and the rest of the girls, and they understand that their best interests are at heart at the end of the day. So if they don't agree with what you're trying to say or the systems you're trying to impart, you kind of have to try and bring them with you as opposed to deter them from the benefits of the game as well. So it's just about trying to player manage that and get the best from them in whatever element it is. So there's no one way to skin a cat. You kind of have to open up your eyes and bring more of a holistic approach to your mindset and try and broaden their reach as to what they're perceiving is right or wrong, or their strengths or weaknesses. Again, within my sport, we don't have any GPS data. It's back to maybe our own testing, so it's bringing it back to that element as well, and showing that well, actually, if they stick to the plan, if they stick to the system that we're trying to impart within them, that they are going the right direction. And again, back to what Ryan said at the start, it's a longer journey than what people would perceive as well. There's a lot more work that goes into it as well. So it's trying to build patience with them, but trying to work along their lines and educate them as to the range of holistic approaches that there is, as opposed to just on the pitch and being football based.
Okay, brilliant. Anybody else question, folks? There's a gentleman down here at the back.
I'll get to him before you, will Eugene? Oh, sorry, I'll get to you after.
I got there first. Just a couple of thoughts. Just listening to Ryan, you mentioned about under 10, under 8 players doing the motor skills, and then a bit older doing strength and conditioning. Just a question on under 12, 13, 14. Any tips for coaches that you could sort of use practically within the sessions? And another sort of question on conditioning a player, building their sort of engines to get up and down the field without flogging them when they're losing their interest. Any sort of tips for coaches?
Yeah, well, I think I suppose it's back to that thing of treating them. You know, every child is going to be different, as well as in terms of their training aids, their background, and their motivations and stuff like that. But in terms of building their engines at that age, I think if you can do it through games, I think it engages them a lot more. So if you can run games, you'll condition them. If you ever work underage and you start off with a game of tag or something like that, the children are absolutely exhausted after 10 or 15 minutes of that. So if you can come up with good fun games that maybe work on some of the fundamental skills of the game, so whether it be fist passing or evasion skills, kicking, whatever it may be, wee tackling drills, stuff like that. But if you can come up with concepts of games, get the children doing that, have a wee bit of a competitive edge to it at that sort of age, then I think you'll get the conditioning doesn't have to be that specific at that age, and you'll build a good engine in young players like that if you're making it fun. The other thing was about in terms of the training as well, how you might implement that. At that age too, conscious. If you're working on under 12, you might only have them out on a Wednesday night and on a Saturday morning. So in terms of looking at that physical development, try and build it into maybe your sessions. So for instance, if you are doing some small-sided games, just maybe at the end of that, if you could get maybe them doing some maybe press-ups or some maybe squats, and focus on proper technique. And emphasise that as well. Really focus, because you can tell them to squat and press up and let them away with it and they're doing it wrong. But I think if you can start to coach key elements at that age, so just squatting, lunging, pressing, pulling something, use their own body weights at that age, but maybe build it into your training sessions. So for example, in the warm-up, when you're getting the ball going, very important, just get the ball going, blow the whistle, get them to do 5 squats, see if you can point out maybe 1 or 2 teaching points, leave it at that. So maybe focus on the squat depth or the position of the chest for 1 week, and then the next week add something else in. And that way, you know, those 2 sessions a week, you're maximising them, and you're concentrating on the technical skills, but you're getting a wee bit of physical development as well. So I wouldn't get at that young age bogged down in terms of running and tempos and work to rest ratios and all that. Games and enjoyment will build their engines.
Okay, fabulous. Question down at the back.
Greg, doesn't matter. Mattie, you mentioned you have 8 parameters that you would coach, that you would try to improve on. Without telling us your blueprint, could you give us examples of those 8?
Well, I'm a PE teacher, and accountant's not the strongest part, you know. Just I'm not sure what 110 adds up to. I suppose, listen, I was very blessed. Okay, I did a level 2 course about, I'm not going to tell you how long ago it was, but I was very, very blessed. I had Mickey Bourne, John Morrison, Philip Kerr were my 3 main tutors. I think Eugene was there as well. So it was. They were my tutors, and that's what they preached to me. Terence McWilliams was there as well. And we sat down over a weekend, and it's what we talked about and listened to them. And that's what they taught me, wherever it was 20 years ago. That they were key parameters. The first one is skill. Can't reinforce it enough. If you haven't read The Legacy for the All Blacks, if ever was talking to the player that can't handle, you need to read that book. Because they have a chapter in, I think it's chapter 5. He says no something in it. Is the title. It's DH. Work it out from there. Great read. Drink deeply from good books, boys. Can't reinforce the code. You have 2 months off now. If you're not drinking deeply from good coaching books, then you're not learning. Every day is a learning day. So one is skills. I will rate the team out of simple enough first touch. Second one will be decision making. Your decision making on the ball. I would always talk about, and I'm not afraid to shy away from it, big plays. Games are decided by big plays. So I have a chance right there, right down and there to turn around and say, there's always 2 or 3 huge plays that transform a game. Like I'm looking at a guy down there, and he pulled me about 5 years ago where I always said, the guy that made the block at the end of the Corey Cup final in 2000, he always said, oh, you said it was him, it was actually me. I'm not, all right, Brian, are you okay with that there? How is that now, can't we? Fucking quitting. And that's confidence. Your job as a coach is to build confidence in your team. Okay? And you have to find every opportunity in a training session to build confidence. And the one thing that's always taught to me was catch a player doing something good, and then tell him. And there's a fair chance he'll repeat it time and time again. And that's a huge part of our going forward is, when you're sitting in a team meeting, here's the 3 things. It's very easy. We're in our society. We're so good at running ourselves down. It's outstanding. You don't need to go anywhere else. We're very good at it ourselves. Your job as a coach is to enhance your players' performance. So you need to catch players doing something good, be it in training, be it in games. When we play a game, we look at it. So the first one is skills. How do we do in our skills? Do we perform the skills, execute the skills really, really well? Or is that an area of our training session next Tuesday night that we need to improve on? Second part of it then is your decision making on the ball. When you're in the ball, do you make the right pass at the right time? Or do you get your head down and try to solo through 10 men who turned over? If you're not highlighting that, then you're not coaching. So that's 2. The third one is your work rate off the ball, decision making off the ball. I love corner forwards. I was blessed. I used to stand full forward and you could put your hands in your pockets and the ball down in the football field, and that was pretty cool, you know. The game has changed. So what's your decision making off the ball? If somebody passed the ball over your head, do you stand and track the flight of that ball, or do you turn and get your ass back to try and get a turnover in the next play? Can you hold the players accountable for that there? That's certainly 3. The next one is scoring ratios. It used to be 13 scores was won you so many football matches. That's jumped now to probably about 18 or 19. So set your team a target. 9 scores in the first half. 9 scores in the second half gives you a grand total of 18. Set your team's targets in terms of doing that there. That's certainly 3 or 4. I've been blessed in that we've used the power plays and GPS the last number of years. But you can still put that down as simply work rate. How do you think the team played? There's nothing worse than the child coming off the football field and you turn around saying, well, give me a percentage of how hard you tried there. Did you give 100% or did you give 80%? It's an opportunity for you to have a conversation then with the child and say, if you only give 70% and you lost the game, why do you only give 70%? And that's a conversation, and it's feedback to the player and say, the next time you go out onto that football field, listen, when you come off the football field, say I have nothing left to give. And that's real-time stats. Okay? And that's half a dozen or 4 or 5 of them that I would use all the time. It's you giving feedback to your team. Because that enhances training on the Tuesday night, on the Thursday night. These are the 3 or 4 things we need to do better if we're going to give ourselves a better chance of winning the next day. I hope that's not far away.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay. Eugene?
2 minutes, Thomas. to get this wrapped up, if that's
Oh,
all right.
that's okay. Have you got a question?
No, I have no question.
No? Okay.
I'd rather hear it from the floor here.
Okay, with two down the front there, Eugene, this guy with the blue sleeves, and the gentleman in front of him then after.
Just ask Ryan, if you was taking over a senior club team, you know, you're working with nearly elite athletes at the moment, if you're taking over a senior club team now, say, for the next incoming year, what would you set your priorities on?
What's team now?
Not Clontarf, not Scotstown, somebody that's middle of the pack.
Well, I suppose the first thing is to look at your team and look at your players, and obviously you probably have a coaching philosophy or belief yourself, but you have to go in and take a look at the players that you have and the style of play that you want to implement. You're going to have to look at the technical skills of all the players, the physical competencies of the players that you have, and maybe their tactical understanding as well, and then you're going to have to marry all those things together. So if I was taking, I suppose for me, if I'm taking over a team, I'm a coach as well. I do the football coaching and I do the strength and conditioning, and for me that gives an added benefit because I try to implement the conditioning through the football, and it works well. So any team I would take over, I would get them straight down to actually using the ball, getting out and on the field, performing the skills, but trying then imprint a bit of conditioning into that. Because I think if you're going to be successful at that sort of senior club level now, you need players that are technically sound, you need players that are physically fit, and they need to have a good tactical understanding. And you have a challenge as a coach that you maybe only have them 2 times a week, and then you have a game at the weekend. So how do you develop a system that is, how do you develop in that hour and a half that you have them, that they're getting that technical development, they're getting the physical development, and they're getting the tactical development in terms of your attacking, your defensive, your kick-out strategies. There's a lot of things to think about there and to organise, and that's why you probably need, one of the big things if you take over a club, you need a good backroom team, you need good people around you. But I say you've got to look at all the areas. So you hear about you'll hear about it over the next 6 weeks about new managers coming into clubs and they're training hard. They're out 4 times a week and they're running around the pitches 4 or 5 times a week. To me, that sort of is fairly short-sighted, and it's not going to help them in terms of a kick-out strategy down the line. That, as Mattie says, those key plays are so important. So it's all-encompassing process you've got to be looking for.
Okay, very last question before we break into the workshops. This man drove 800 miles. You deserve a second question.
To marry the 4 pillars that Mattie spoke about, and I feel like playing a match after you talking anyway there, and what you spoke about, movement training and being able to move better. With your professional qualification now, what advice would you give to your 5 to 10-year-old self in the activities and sports you would play before you would specialise in Gaelic football? Which specific sports and activities would you suggest for yourself as a 5 to 10-year-old participate in?
Okay, so I have 2 9-year-old boys, and I suppose, being honest, my involvement in football and over the last number of years, and you give a heavy commitment as well. So I sort of regret not getting them involved in a number of sports, particularly from that age of 4 or 5. And I only really sent them to football training when they were maybe 6 or 7. But I see now younger kids that went to 4 and 5 and they've developed that wee bit quicker than them. So what I would say is if I was back 5, 6 years old, the most important thing is fun for them. So I would get them involved in activities that are fun, but activities that are going to challenge their movement vocabulary. So that twisting and turning, rolling, jumping, landing, all those wee basic skills that, although you probably don't see the benefits of them now, games of tag, all the wee games that are played in PE when we have them, so you don't see the benefits of that, but long term you will see in terms of their evasion skills or their ability to accelerate or decelerate quickly.
The specific sport, what activity that in a controlled environment or a coachable environment would you expose them to yourself?
In terms of a sport?
Yeah.
Well, I would be open to all sports. Gaelic, maybe hand-eye coordination, handball, basketball, as many sports as they can. As many sports as a parent you can take them to. So if you want to give up 5 evenings a week, you can go to judo, you can go to, but I would say there's no limit. So don't limit and I heard some of the coaches saying we finished up a few weeks ago under 8s, and I says, what about there's soccer? I think there's soccer and soccer and a basketball club. No, geez, I'm not bringing them to that. But I think it'd actually be a great idea to bring them and let them experience loads of sports, where they can, they'll develop a range of skills and they might find their niche as well. So I wouldn't reject any sport at all.
Sorry, just on that, there's a guy, American youth strength coach. His name is Jeremy Frisch, F-R-I-S-C-H, and he has like an indoor basement gym, and it's basically kitted out with hurdles and pommel horses and mats everywhere, and he's just getting his kids jumping, landing, and it looks like the most fun thing ever, but it's just basic general movements, and I think that there's a good basis for getting your kids at that age developing the pillars before we get on to the S&C stuff and the fancy stuff later down the line.
Brilliant. Okay folks, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. Appreciate that. Round of applause.